What's holding back this economy?
Well, I think, first of all, not only ask what this economy, the globe. I mean, if you look at output per hour, for example, which is the critical determinant of growth, you will find that the vast proportion of countries have under 1% in productivity growth over the last 5 years on average. And this includes the OECD, virtually all of the OECD countries. Basically, obviously, the Euro area, the United States, Canada, with very few exceptions, all below 1% and averaging in many cases below 0.5%. And in some cases, which I think probably more for statistical reasons than economic reasons, they're showing 5-year negative productivity. Now, the question you have to ask, well, why is this? And if you go deeper into the data, what you take a look at is the United States, because it's perfectly typical of everybody else. What we have in this country is a very unusual and unfortunately very unstable fiscal system. Our fiscal system is now driven by entitlements on the expenditure side and a tax structure, as always, on the funds raising side. The entitlements are not affected by the level of economic activity. It's elderly, which has got nothing to do with what the economy is, how many people become eligible for Social Security, and a whole series of other factors which determine essentially what the entitlements are. I mean, for example, health costs have got very little to do with what the economy is doing. So if you have a situation in which the entitlements are rising at 8 to 9% a year, and I might add parenthetically that it is in both Republican and Democratic administrations, and in fact, if you want to be actually exact with the numbers, the average rate of rise in Republican administrations has been greater than the Democrats. But this is very critical because this rate of growth and entitlements could be funded only if the GDP growth rate is probably 3.5 to 4%. Remember, these are not related issues. In other words, basically the economy does its thing, entitlements does its thing. If they meet, all well and good, but if they don't, then you have a real problem. And what the issue is now is that the surge in entitlements is displacing gross private savings. And the result of that is because gross domestic savings in total, which includes negative government usually, and entitlements have tended over the last 65 years, so let's say 50 years, as a percent of GDP, have been remarkably stable. They go like this, that sum, which essentially comes down to the fact that $1 increase in entitlements reduces gross domestic savings by $1. But gross domestic savings is the major determinant of capital investment. Incidentally, gross domestic savings plus the current account balance is equal to, in other words, the borrowing from abroad is equal to gross domestic investment with a little statistical discrepancy in there. Gross domestic investment is the key factor in determining productivity growth.
So let me recap, Alan, just for a second. You're saying if we save a lot, we invest a lot. If we invest a lot, we're more productive.
Correct.
But since we're not saving as much because we're putting more stuff into entitlements, we're investing less and our productivity is less.
Perfect.
Awesome. And I'd come back and I'd say, we got all this stuff around like this.
Yeah.
People have a sense of massive technological advancement out there. How can you say we are not more productive right now?